Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. It's Tuesday morning and of course it's a time for another vlog. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry I didn't put vlog on last Thursday. I was extremely busy and I just couldn't find the time to put something together, so I will try to make it up today and basically do the vlog, which gives you some very valuable information. So today's vlog I would like to entirely dedicate it and talk about the speedlights. And the main reason I want to talk about it because this is I think recently one of the most requested questions, what kind of lighting setup I'm using for my headshots. So that's why I've decided I'm gonna, even though I've done it back in the days, another vlog about the speedlights, I would like to expand that a little bit more and talk a little bit more into details about the entire setup, what I use for my headshots sessions. So before I'll jump into it, I just want to do a little bit of disclaimer and then say that I don't want to actually make it sound that I'm trying to say that the speedlights are better than strobes, because I've done some comments in the past where people just kind of like jump all over me and say, well, you can't say the speedlights are better than strobes and whatever. I'm not saying that. Of course strobes are way more powerful, there's way more what you can do with this, but what I want to say is that the main reason I'm using is speedlights because they giving me a lot of stuff which strobes kind of they can't give me. Kind of, well, I don't want to say that way, but there's a lot of advantages with the speedlights which I used to use strobes. And what I would like to say that depends what you like, depends what you want to do, and depends what kind of photography you do. Then basically you can decide which directions you want to go. But what I want to also add to this, that I'm not trying to kind of make any comparison what is better and what is worse and why you should buy this. I'm gonna just sharing with you guys my own experience, and I'm gonna share with you why I've decided to go that path and decided to go with speedlights. So before I jump into this entire topic, I just want to say that I used to use strobes, but as soon as I discover, I'm sure you guys are aware of this amazing photographer Dylan Patrick, who introduced me to the speedlight photography. And I was kind of skeptic at the beginning, but then I decided, okay, I'm gonna take a shot and see how this whole thing works, and just basically test it, try it, and see how it goes. And I was just literally blown away but the results, and I decided to sell out all my alien room lights, and I actually transitioned into my speed lights, and I've been using them for several years now. And at this point I'm not kind of planning to actually buying some very expensive strobes, because the speed lights are giving me what I need to create a good headshot. So let's jump into it and let's talk about why I really love the speedlight. So the first thing is definitely the price of the entire system. And I know, like, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be cheap and just kind of like basically put the price on it, but I'm sure there's a lot of photographers out there who love to shoot and they love to do headshots, but they kind of have this mindset that, well, they need to have this very expensive lights. And let's be honest, like, one of those high-end strobes, they cost a lot of money, and unfortunately not enough people can afford them. So, you know, comparing the price for speedlights and comparing to buying some high-end strobes, it's significant difference. So you don't need much money to actually just buy this speedlight setup, comparing if you would like to go with the strobe. So especially when you're starting off and you just don't know if this is something what you want to do and you want to still try to do some work, then definitely I would suggest that, you know, you can try with speedlights. And then if you, let's say, decided that this is not good enough and you need something more powerful, then you can go to strobes. But the price of the speedlights is definitely cheaper. And also what I would like to add to this, that, you know, those high-end speedlights are also expensive. I don't want to say they, like, you know, for free or they really cheap, because for example, two speedlights which I have is a Nikon SB910, and I think they're about, I think, $500 at this point. So this is still quite a bit of money, but at the same time you can get them used for, I would say, half of that price, and they can last for a long time. So that's something which you can kind of look into it. And I know there's other systems like Godox, which is also, I heard really good reviews on that, but I never have a chance to use them, so I don't want to kind of even say my opinion on that, because I just have no idea how they work, and you know how this whole thing kind of looks like. So that's the kind of the first thing what I really like about them. So adding to this, if let's say something happens to the light, it's much, let's say, cheaper to replace them or buy them something new instead, like, you know, buying the new strobe. And I had situations where, I'm not gonna lie, I had that, you know, my strobe kind of fall down, and you know the insurance was trying to kind of backing out and didn't want to pay. So to fix the strobe is also much more expensive comparing to fix the speed light. I think few months ago I had a situation that one of my speed lights just literally dropped on the floor and broke. And so I sent that out to Nikon to fix it, and that was some like bulb inside which was broken, and they fixed it for like $60, which I was just like completely blown away, because I really thought it's gonna cost me at least a couple $100 to get it done. So even though if something happens to your speed light, it's not going to be as much expensive to, you know, to fix them and kind of like get them run back again. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing what I would like to talk about is portability. And this is something what I really like about SpeedLights, especially when you travel a lot, when you actually do a lot of shoots not in your kind of studio. That's something which is extremely important. Back in the days, I remember I used to drag all my strobes all over the place, plus the extension cords and some additional stuff. That was really dreadful, and I'm not gonna lie to me, that was the most painful thing for me to basically to do, because you have, you know, your own gear, you have stands, you have soft boxes, and then you have the strobe. So like, you know, that was something which I hate about that part of my job, that I have to carry all this equipment around. With the speed lights, you probably know they're small, they portable. You can actually just pack them all in one bag, and you have just the stands and the soft boxes, and you're good to go. And especially also when it comes to traveling, when I remember I had a photo shoot in a different city, I have to fly. That was also painful to, you know, drag them around. And then if something like, I had to be also covered, that if something would happen with the luggage, I need to have some kind of backup into this other place. So if they have some rental places, then it's great. If they don't, you know, that's the issue. With the speed lights, that's not a problem at all, because most of the time I pack them in my carry-on luggage, and they always travel with me. So another thing what I really like about my speed lights is that I don't need power outlets. I know nowadays there's strobes which have kind of like battery packs and stuff like that. The ones which I used, I had to actually have power outlet, and that was also challenge, because especially I was shooting in some kind of like different locations where, you know, there was no power outlets. There was like, you know, I thought automatically I couldn't do the shoots. With the speed lights, I can pretty much set it up everything in, you know, like anywhere, and I can shoot in any desired location, because I don't need, as I said, power outlets. I don't need extension cords. I don't have to have anything to protect, you know, extension cords, just for the safety reason, like especially when you're shooting in some offices. So that's what I really like. I'm kind of like able to shoot anywhere and anywhere I want, and it's always kind of like easy to set it up and kind of get it ready and basically just get the shoot going. So that's what I really like about it. Another thing what I really like about the SpeedLights is that I always have some extra ones. So if something kind of goes wrong, and basically there's some failure, which basically never happened to me, but I always have a couple extra speedlights with me, so just in case something would happen. And again, with the strobes, you know, when it comes to the weight and all the stuff, you always kind of like have the exact amount of what you need. So if something happens on the shoot, if you don't have a backup equipment, then when it's actually the problems kind of kicked in. With the speed lights, you always kind of like, because you can kind of pack them and you kind of can have some additional ones. It's always kind of kind of have you kind of prepare for any circumstances. I'm not saying that like if you have those extra strobes, it's great, but I remember I just didn't have money to have extra ones, so I was always kind of like I had to use what I had and then kind of solve the problems if something kind of went wrong. And I had few situations in my career where like one of the alien home lights kind of failed on me. There's a situation one time where this whole thing just kind of fell down and I broke entire strobe. And the same thing happened with the speed lights, but I had some extra ones and was always kind of like, okay, I'm kind of covered situation. So let's talk about the right now about the speed lights I'm using, and let me show you some stuff, and then we're gonna kind of talk about it. So I have actually two of those, which is the Nikon SB910, and also I have this as I said before, the Nikon SB800. So I have two of those and I have two of those. And I absolutely love them. So let me kind of go through some of those things, which like a little tips, which definitely is going to help you. So I'm using actually, let me start talking maybe about the batteries, because that's something which is extremely important. So I'm not, back in the days, I remember when I started shooting with speedlights, I used to buy in Costco like pack of them, and then whenever shoot I had, I just put the fresh ones, because that was kind of like I didn't know I could purchase those rechargeable. I know it's gonna sound funny, but that was just kind of my way of thinking. So that's something what I highly recommended. So I'm using those envelope ones, and I've been having them for I think the last 2 years, and they are absolutely amazing. So as I said before, back in the days, I was just stacking them, the regular ones, and that was a huge problem, because I thought at some point I'm gonna go like literally out of the business, because like you don't know how much left like you have in those batteries. So that's why it's extremely important to kind of have those rechargeable batteries, because they definitely they're gonna save you a lot of money. Plus whenever I come back from the shoot, I'll just put all of them in my actually I have a place where I recharge everything, and then every time when I come back, I'll recharge them, put them back into my speed lights, and they're ready to go for the next photo shoot. So this is, I think, one of those tips which is extremely important when you're shooting speed lights. Plus it's always good to have extra ones. So I have about 20 additional ones which I carry from my shoot. So whenever I start kind of feeling that my speed lights is getting slower, I basically replace them and they ready to go. So what kind of system I'm using to trigger them, because this is something which I think there's a lot of question about it, and let me talk about it. So with shooting speedlights, I know there's a lot of discussion about basically the high speed sync, which basically allows you to shoot in much higher speeds. And basically in order to actually have this kind of possible, you have to have special triggers. So I'm using this Pocket Wizard Flex TT5. They also fairly expensive. I think they're about $150 to $200, and I have 4 of them for each speed light. To trigger them off the camera, I'm using this Pocket Wizard Mini TT1, and to control all these lights, I'm using this Pocket Wizard AC3. So basically that allows me to pretty much be on the spot and control all my lights, and they have like basically set up for 3 speed lights. And what is amazing about it, usually I use only 3 speed lights. I'm using the main light, the kicker light, and I'm using some lights, depends on the location. I'm using speed light to light up a little bit the background. So that allows me to basically put that in, and I'm actually just ready to go, and I don't have to just run around and yeah, just have a full control of this entire system on the shoot. And especially this is really good when it comes to shooting in tight spots where there's not much room, and then you don't want to kind of move around the person, or you don't want to kind of like just look like you just been running like crazy because you're trying to kind of adjust your lights. This little kind of piece of equipment allows me to do that. And then a lot of people are asking me about like how do I mount them to my soft boxes. So basically, I'm using this little guy. You can buy them on Amazon, and they I think $40. And basically, what you do is pretty much you put your speed light in it, so that's kind of goes on the stand. This you mount over here, basically the soft box, and on the back you put over here the speed light, and you basically tie that up. You add this little guy over here, which takes like a second. Over here. There you go, and you're ready to go. You just set it up, your speed light, and also like I will link some information like how to set it up your speed lights with the link below about this whole configuration. I don't want to kind of talk about it because that will be another, I would say, 20 minutes. So that's pretty much everything. Another actually tip what I would like to also add, this little guy, the Pocket Wizard Mini TT1, which actually just you put on the camera, and that's what actually triggers all those lights. And the one kind of thing what I don't like about it is this little guy has this really bizarre battery, which is kind of like really weird. Looks like a watch battery, whatever. And the Pocket Wizard come up with this little cable, which you pretty much just plug it into this little guy, and then you just plug it into the camera, and basically that sucks the juices out of your camera battery, and you don't have to worry about this little battery. And I remember, again, I used to buy like bunch of those little guys, and again, like you don't know when this whole thing's gonna kind of like get drained. So this little cable, which also is kind of expensive, I don't know how much exactly I paid, but I was about $100. So yeah, that was kind of like pricey purchase for me to kind of make this work. But as soon as I got this, like it just works as a charm. So that's something which I would highly recommend it whenever we're going to be used that Pocket Wizard system. I know there's other systems which you can purchase much cheaper. Again, I don't want to put any informations and kind of give you my opinion on that because I never used them. I never had to try to work with them, so I don't want to say they work better or worse and what's the pros and cons on this. All the time I used to work with the Pocket Wizard system to trigger my speed lights, and pretty much that system, as I said, never failed me. This triggers never had issues. And they also, those big guys over here, they are they basically they take power out of like the batteries. There's two double A's inside, so they can last fairly long. Again, but you can still charge them, the batteries, after every shoot, and that's what I do to make sure they always kind of fully charge for every shoot, so you don't have to worry that that's gonna basically affect your photo shoot, that they're gonna stop working. Okay, so let's summarize this whole thing. So basically, I want to say that the main reason I've decided to change my lighting system to speed lights was because I really love the portability of those speed lights, and they're not big, they work well. They definitely have less power, and this is something what I want to mention, because they're not gonna give you the same amount of power what you can get from strobe. So let's be honest about it, and I'm not gonna admit that that's not true. It is true that the strobes, they can give you way more power, but at the same time it also comes down where you shoot. Like, you're not gonna shoot your headshots in the kind of like middle of the day in the bright sun. so you don't really have to overpower the sun. Most of my shoots are either indoor, or even if I'm shooting actually outside, I'm always trying to pick the time where it's a little bit of, I would say, I don't want to say darker, but like, I'm shooting in the evening, or when trying to pick the places where it's fairly big shadows and stuff like that. And then I have way more control over, kind of like setting the lights properly and make sure the subject and the background is lit properly. So that's something which I never had issues with this. And I always have enough power to light up my subject the way I want it. So that's not a big of a deal. I want to also make that clear. And yeah, the last thing what I would like to add to this is, if you don't have a lot of money and you're not sure if you want to do headshots full time, even I'm doing them full time, I would definitely, before you purchase really high end stuff, I think learning working with SpeedLights, it's a great experience, and I'm sure you're not going to be disappointed. So if you have any questions regarding those speedlights, I think I cover a lot of different angles of this. I hope that was interesting, but I know and I feel like I missed a bunch of stuff. But if you have any specific questions, or you want to ask more about the system or some settings and stuff like that, please, please, please feel free to contact me, and I'll try my best to answer all your questions. This whole system, takes time to figure it out and kind of get the hand on it, and then feel it to do it right. But as soon as you kind of get this whole thing properly, and you understand the process, and you know what you can kind of get out of them, those speed lights, you really don't have to worry about the lighting. You kind of go to the shoot and you enjoy it, and you pretty much this is like a second thing, the technical stuff, and then you can interact with the clients. You can kind of come up with different ideas, and I'm sure people who know me a little bit more, and you guys have a chance to see some of my work, you basically seen that you can do literally anything with those speed lights, and they can produce amazing light, and you can produce fantastic headshots. So I'm sorry, I think that was a little bit too long, but I hope that it was interesting. I would like to wish you guys a fantastic week. I will be looking forward to your comments, looking forward to messages, and stay tuned for the next vlog, and I'll try to make this again very interesting and give you some valuable information which helps you to get better headshots. So thank you again, and stay tuned, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Bye bye.